And yeah, Shabbat, Shalom, Mishpacha. Yeah, I actually started it, excuse me, an hour earlier. So those who were in like the UK and places like South Africa and things like that, they're able to experience more as well. Even though it's a bit early for those in Australia, but it's all good. Yeah, no problem. But yeah, Shabbat, Shalom, everybody. Good to see you all here. I'm going to go ahead and start. What time is it over there? Over there in the UK? I think it's like, isn't it like 7 or 8 in the evening? Yeah, 7. So yeah, glad to start earlier for you, brother and sister, actually, because I know Wendy, it's 8 p.m. there in South Africa for Wendy. Feel bad for Jermaine. No, it's all good. She usually re-listens to all the recordings anyway. But yeah, Shabbat Shalom Mishpacha. Good to see each and every one of you here, brothers and sisters. So let me go ahead. I will play the song here, and then we'll get right into the Torah portion. Which actually, this song goes exactly with the Torah portion. Really amazing. You'll see why. Well, many of you have heard this song, so you already know why. But all right, I'll stop yapping and let me play it here.
I sing to Yahuah, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. Yah is my strength and song, and he has become my deliverance. He is my El, and I praise him, Elohim of my father, and I exalt him. Yahuah is a man of battle, Yahuah is his name. He has cast Pharaoh's chariots and his army into the sea, and his chosen officers are drowned in the sea of reeds. The depths covered them, they went down to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Yahuah, has become great in power. Your right hand, O Yahuah, has crushed the enemy. And in the greatness of your excellence, you pulled down those who rose up against you. You sent forth your wrath, it consumed them like stubble. And with the wind of your nostrils, the waters were heaped up. The floods stood like a wall, the depths became stiff in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I pursue, I overtake, I divide the spoil. My being is satisfied on them. I draw out my sword, my hand destroys them. You blew with your wind, the sea covered them. They sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, oh Yahuah? among the mighty ones. Who is like you, great in Kodeshah, awesome in praises, working wonders? You stretched out your right hand, the earth swallowed them. In your kindness, you led the people whom you have redeemed. In your strength, you guided them to your Kodesh dwelling. Peoples heard, they trembled. Anguish gripped the inhabitants of Pelasheth. Then the chiefs of Edom were troubled, the mighty men of Moab. Trembling grips them, all the inhabitants of Canaan melted. Fear and dread fell on them by the greatness of your arm. They are as silent as a stone. Until your people pass over, O Yahuah. Until the people whom you have bought pass over. You bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, in the place, O Yahuah, which you have made for your own dwelling, the Mikdash, O Yahuah, which your hands have prepared. Yahuah reigns forever and ever.
All right, Shabbat Shalom Mishpacha. Good to see you all here, everybody. So that's the song that's actually going to go directly with our Torah portions today. And our Torah portion today is actually going to be Beshalach, or When He Let Go. And we're going to read Exodus chapter 13, starting in verse 7, to chapter 17, verse 16. And then we're going to be reading Jubilees chapter 48, starting in verse 12. And then we're just going to read to chapter 50. We're going to complete the book of Jubilees today. And Shabbat Shalom Mishpacha. Much love to you all. And then we're going to get into reading the next chapter or two from my book. And that's going to actually go over the canon, the true canon that was held by the sons of Zadok. And going along with the Torah portion actually today, specifically in Jubilees, is chapter 50. And we're going to really walk through and prove out that Jubilees, and both Enoch and Jubilees actually, I should say, are, legit. They're inspired writings. And as we have read Genesis right next to Jubilees, we can see these contradictions and things like that people speak of, they don't exist. They're not there. So let me share my screen. And then I'll say a prayer, and then we'll get right into it. Father Abba Yahuah, we come to you in prayer to ask for your guidance and your blessings as we read and study through your word. Please allow your Ruach to be with us, to just help to continue to lead us, guide us, give us that discernment that we need to discern your truths from all the lies that men try to spread and share. And I wanted to thank you for this fellowship, all the amazing and wonderful mishpacha here. So very important, and it means so very much to me. I also wanted to say a prayer for those struggling through trials, tribulations, sicknesses, whatever it may be. We all need your help. We can't do it without you, Father, and we need your strength to be able to endure to the end. And I pray all these things to you in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach. Let it be so. All right. So let's begin here. Exodus chapter 13 and beginning in verse 7 here. And so we had just read about the Pesach, the Passover. We're going to read about unleavened bread. And this will coincide directly with what we will read in Jubilees as well, which goes even more into the Pesach. All right, so Exodus 13, verse 7. And if anybody has anything they would like to add, or if they would like to help read, if anything sticks out, feel free to jump on in. All right, so unleavened bread is to be eaten the 7 days, and whatever is leavened is not to be seen with you, and leaven is not to be seen with you within all your border. And you shall inform your son in that day, saying, it is because of what Yahuah did for me when I came out from Mitzrayim. So really quick, we also had read in Jubilees that this 7 days was also observed by Abraham. Actually, when Abraham went to go offer up Isaac, it was on the 15th of the first month, the High Shabbat of unleavened bread. And then the Pesach evening was added right here in the Exodus. And then the Pesach is supposed to be remembered as when Yahuah brought everybody out from Mitzrayim, from that bondage of Mitzrayim. So leaven is also associated with sin and bondage as well. And then continuing here, verse 9. And it shall be as a sign to you on your hand, and as a reminder between your eyes, that the Torah of Yahuah is to be in your mouth. For with a strong hand Yahuah has brought you out of Mitzrayim. And you shall guard this law at its appointed time from year to year. So which laws are we supposed to guard? It's literally a Torah command to keep the Pesach and unleavened bread. And there's that whole doctrine going around of this group of people saying, oh, we're not supposed to observe these outside the land. Well, as we've read through in Paul's observing these festivals outside the land. So what they say is wrong. Not only that, is it's a law to observe these festivals at its appointed time from year to year. I digress, so let me continue. So 11, and it shall be when Yahuah brings you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore to you and your fathers, and gives it to you, that you shall pass over to Yahuah, everyone opening the womb, and every firstborn that comes from your livestock, and the males belong to Yahuah. So this is about dedicating the firstborn to Yahuah. And this is also why the firstborn, especially of the priesthood, is passed on the high priest. This is why this connects to the sons of Zadok as well. This is how Onias, the fourth, actually the third, I should say, and his son was the fourth, but he was usurped by his brother, the secondborn. But every firstborn of a donkey you are to ransom with a lamb. And if you do not ransom it, then you shall break its neck. And every firstborn of man among your sons you are to ransom. And it shall be, when your son asks you in time to come, saying, what is this? Then you shall say to him, by strength of hand, Yahuah brought us out of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. So this isn't saying to offer up your firstborns or anything. This is the dedication to Yahuah, dedicating them to Yahuah. And it shall be as a sign on your hand, and as frontlets between your eyes. For by strength of the hand of Yahuah brought us out of Mitzrayim. So this is going to be a sign, the mark. You know, we see a connection with the mark of the beast later on in Revelation as well, because it's a sign on their right hand and their foreheads. So what's the frontlets between your eyes? That's your forehead. And Hasatan can only imitate. He doesn't create. So the mark is, do we have Yahuah's name on our foreheads, or do we have Hasatan? And it came to be, when Pharaoh had let the people go, that Elohim did not lead them by the way of the land of the Pelishites, though that was near. For Elohim said, lest the people regret when they see fighting and return to Mitzrayim. So Elohim led the people around by the way of the wilderness of the Sea of Reeds. And the children of Israel went up armed from the land of Mitzrayim. So because there was a war going on in that area, Yahuah diverted the people around all of that, because they would see the war, be afraid, and then turn back to Mitzrayim. Which, you know, as we read through the Exodus, we're going to see more and more of the people moaning and groaning, wanting to go back to the bondage of Mitzrayim, things like that. Verse 19. And Moshe took the bones of Joseph with him, for he certainly made the children of Israel swear, saying, Elohim shall certainly visit you, and you shall bring my bones here with you. Yep, and we just read about this a few Torah portions ago as well, where Joseph stated that to his children, that they would promise him to carry his bones out of Mitzrayim. And here's that being fulfilled. So the Mitzrayim lost all their firstborn, including their animals, since Israel was preserved. Is this their ransom? Yeah, basically. So that's a good question, Brother Michael, by the way. And yes, it is their ransom. But the Mitzrites, or the Egyptians, before their firstborn were taken, they were killing the firstborn of all the Israelites, taking all their stuff. So that was really Yahuah's vengeance on them for doing that, taking their firstborn. And then continuing forth, you know, just the firstborn, they're dedicated to Yahuah. So that whole blessing and things like that from the fathers is supposed to go to the firstborn. And then the firstborn will dedicate themselves to Yahuah, following Yahuah, teaching their children. I mean, all the family are supposed to do that, but it's really important for the firstborn. Sometimes the firstborn can also be in Ruach, not just physically. Because like Jacob and Esau was the firstborn, but Yaakov was the firstborn in Ruach, meaning he got the blessing because he was following Yahuah. No problem, brother. All right, verse 20. And they departed from Succoth and camped in Etham at the edge of the wilderness. And Yahuah went before them by day in a column of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a column of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and night. The column of cloud did not cease by day, or the column of fire by night, before the people. So they were literally seeing these signs and these wonders happening right in front of them, and Yahuah was guiding them. And also, by the way, Shabbat Shalom, Greg and John and Sophia and Esme. Good to see y'all here.
Shabbat Shalom.
I pray you all are doing well.
Shabbat Shalom.
That part was fascinating to me when I read it. Yeah, Brother Kelly, it's so many fascinating things. Every time you read it, it will go deeper into it. Like, you gather more from it. That's why it's the living word. Boom, there we go. Great minds think alike. I was about to say that. All right, so we're going to get into chapter 14 here. And remember, if anybody wants to add anything or has anything they would like to say or anything like that, feel free to jump on in. Say it in the chat or open up your mics. It's all good. So Exodus chapter 14. Let me get some water real quick. Drink of water. All right. So, and Yahuah spoke to Moshe saying, "Speak to the children of Israel that they turn and camp before Pi Ha-Hiroth." That was a tongue twister. Pi Ha-Hiroth, between Migdal and the sea, opposite Baal Zephon. Camp before it by the sea. For Pharaoh shall say to the children of Israel, "They are entangled in the land, the wilderness has closed them in. And I shall harden the heart of Pharaoh, and he shall pursue them. But I am to be esteemed through Pharaoh, and over all his army. And the Mitzrites shall know that I am Yahuah." And they did so. So Yahuah is going to basically make an example out of Pharaoh, is what he's saying here. And it was reported to the sovereign of Mitzrayim that the people had fled, and that the heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people. And they said, "Why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us?" So he made his chariot ready and took his people with him. He took 600 chosen chariots, and all the chariots of Mitzrayim with officers over all of them. And he hardened the heart of Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, and he pursued the children of Israel. But the children of Israel went out with a high hand. And the Mitzrites pursued them, and all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, and his horsemen and his army, and reached them, camping by the sea, beside Pi Ha-Hiroth, before Baal Zephon. When Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted their eyes and saw the Mitzrites coming after them, and they were greatly afraid. So the children of Israel cried out to Yahuah. And they said to Moshe, "Did you take us away to die in the wilderness, because there are no graves in Mitzrayim? What is this you have done to us, to bring us up out of Mitzrayim?" So they were grumbling and complaining, thinking they were just brought out here to die. And remember, they were looking at the cloud and the pillar of fire as well, guiding them. So this is their lack of faith in Yahuah. Is this not the word that we spoke to you in Mitzrayim, saying, "Leave us alone, and let us serve the Mitzrites"? For it would have been better for us to serve the Mithrites than to die in the wilderness. So they're claiming they would rather go back into bondage than to be free of that bondage and go to the promised land. And Moshe said to the people, do not be afraid. Stand still and see the deliverance of Yahuah, which he does for you today. For the Mithrites who you see today, you are never to see again. Yahuah fights for you, and you keep silent. And Yahuah said to Moshe, why do you cry to me? Speak to the children of Israel, and let them go forward. And you, lift up your rod, and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it. And let the children of Israel go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. Yeah, same difference exactly, Natalie. So, really quickly, I also wanted to add, I know we've gone over like Ron Wyatt and his discoveries, but he also discovered the crossing of the sea here. There is chariot wheels, horse bones, even human bones found in this area from Egypt at about this very same time period. So I just wanted to add that Ron Wyatt actually made this discovery, the true crossing of the Red Sea. Pretty fascinating stuff. Verse 17. And I am hardening the hearts of the Mitzrites, and they shall follow them. And I am to be esteemed through Pharaoh and over all his army, his chariots, and his horsemen. And the Mitzrites shall know that I am Yahuah, when I am esteemed through Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. And the messenger of Elohim who went before the camp of Israel moved and went behind them. And the column of the cloud went from before them and stood behind them, and came between the camp of the Mithrites and the camp of Israel. And it was the cloud and the darkness, and it gave light by night, and the one did not come near the other all that night. So the cloud, the pillar of fire, placed themselves in between Egypt and Israel here, keeping them at bay from doing any kind of harm. And then Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahuah caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night. It made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on dry ground, and the waters were a wall to them on their right and on their left. And the Mitzrites pursued and went after them into the midst of the sea, and all the horses of Pharaoh and his chariots and his horsemen. And it came to be in the morning watch that Yahuah looked down upon the army of the Mitzrites through the column of fire and cloud. He brought the army of the Mitzrites into confusion, and he took off their chariot wheels, so that they drove them with difficulty. And the Mitzrites said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for Yahuah fights for them against the Mitzrites. So here we see they are seeing Yahuah's esteem, just like Yahuah said. Then they were becoming frightened. Yeah, there we go, Brother Kelly. Thanks for sharing that. Ron Wyatt's discoveries. Actually, Ron Wyatt, back when I first started reading scriptures, really in my late 20s, that's when I discovered his videos. It was so long ago. And that's actually what helped to connect the history and scripture and helped me to realize, yeah, wow, what is written in his word is absolutely true. All right. Verse 27. And Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its usual flow at the break of day, with the Mitzrites fleeing into it. Thus Yahuah overthrew the Mitzrites in the midst of the sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariots, and the horsemen, and all the army of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. Not even one was left of them. And the children of Israel walked on dry ground in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall to them on their right and their left. And it's kind of interesting, the connection there, because, do not steer from the path to the right or the left. You got to stay on that middle ground. Thus Yahuah saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Mitzrites. And Israel saw the Mitzrites dead on the seashore. And Israel saw the great work which Yahuah had done in Mitzrayim. And the people revered Yahuah, and believed Yahuah and his servant Moshe. So they basically went from grumbling and mumbling, wanting to go back into captivity and bondage, to now revering and believing Yahuah and Moshe. But that's not the end of the mumbling and moaning and groaning that we're going to see from them. Wheels coming off the chariots first, then the waters cover them. Yeah. Boom. Yeah, interesting point. Interesting catch there, Brother Ken. Yeah, so many times Scripture says, do not turn left or right. Yeah, and what are the two political parties called? Yeah, the left and the right. Deliverance on the last day of Matzah. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's right. Yep, exactly, Silas. The left and the right. Yeah, I believe it was actually on that last day of Matzah. I believe you are correct there, Sister Natalie. You have the conservatives, liberals, all that stuff. Yeah, yeah. Probably because I stopped talking there for a moment, brother. Let me just, yeah, my mic's all good. Shows it is. All right, just checking the chat there. Yeah, all the clown show. Exactly, Natalie. That's exactly what it is. We live in a clown world. Appointed times are appointed times. Exactly, Brother Ken. So yeah, the appointed times are appointed specific times for very specific reasons. And this is why the calendar is so important to understand as well. Because we want to do our absolute best to get these appointed times correctly. We don't follow men, things like that. We just follow his word and the witnesses that he gave us, which is the luminaries. Yep, show up on the wrong day and you've missed the Exodus. Exactly. And I know in the hagiographies, which have to do with that little season of deception, it mentions that on these specific appointed times, that's when these land bridges appear, like what we just read about here in the Exodus. They appear for the people to be able to go to New Jerusalem during the millennial reign, of course. they wouldn't be there any other days, only these specific days. So even more importance on why getting these specific appointed times is of the utmost importance, really. Sometimes that happens to me as well, Kelly, Brother Kelly. Hey, Sumi's here. Sumi and Brandon. Actually, that's kind of perfect timing there, Sister Sumi. If you or Brandon want to read chapter 15 here next. Was it the fire in front of smoke or the other way around? It looked to me, what we read, that they were kind of in the midst of each other. That's what I got from reading it, that they're kind of in the midst of each other. Nice, finished reading the book of the Nazarene. Yeah, that's a good verse, actually, right there, Natalie. Yeah, book of the Nazarene, chapter 20, 79. Is that just verse 79? That's a big verse. But yeah, book of Nazarene, chapter 20, verse 79. Pilatus said, "You are a perverse race, over-concerned with unworldly things, and ensnaring yourselves in your own net of goodness." Yep, same thing happening today. You cannot even agree on the dates of your own festivals or the nature of your Elohim. There it is. Book of Khalidi, calendar ward proof right there. Yahusha is telling them, look, you can't even agree on the dates of your own festivals. And yet your saintliness makes you unsaintly. You all disagree to seek the truth, you all agree to seek the truth, but dispute which path to follow. And so you get nowhere. You agree to follow your Elohim, but some say we go this way, and others say we go another. What you say today about this man, you said yesterday about another. Your laws are a maze, which I will not attempt to negotiate. Look at that. He's saying your laws, the Pharisees' laws. Also, kind of what he's saying here, you go this way, or we go this way, others say we go another. This is the same thing Paul is addressing as well. You know, some say they follow Paul, others say this and that. And was Paul quoting from this book here? Interesting. But your laws are a maze, which I will not attempt to negotiate. Your thoughts are devious, and your hearts an unreadable scroll. I am unfortunate in my governorship. Book of Khalidi, Book of Nazarene, chapter 20, verse 79. Yeah, thanks for sharing that verse, Sister Natalie. Actually, very important. And Shabbat Shalom, Sister Jermaine, Sister Marissa. Oh, if you can hear me. Sister Sydney as well. Shabbat Shalom. So yeah, Sumi and Brandon, would one of you like to read chapter 15 here? If you're able. If not, it's all good.
15 and what?
Exodus.
Okay, hold on. Let me pull it up. Let's see.
Yeah, the calendar and divinity wars. Yeah, exactly. That's what was going on. It sounds like a reality show. Yes, I agree, Brother Michael.
There we
Maybe
go.
that's where it came from. All right. Go ahead, Sister Sumi.
Okay. Then Moshe and the children of Yisrael, for he is highly exalted, he has thrown into the sea. Yah is my strength and song, and he has become my deliverance. He is my, and I praise him. And I battle.
Wait,
Yahuah is
what?
his name.
1 second. It was breaking up pretty badly.
I'm sorry, I'm outside.
I don't even know where you left off. It was just breaking up. It seems fine
Okay,
now.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
No, it's all good. It seems fine now.
Okay, I'll try again. Then Moshe and the children of Yisrael sang the song to Yahuah and spoke, saying, I sing to Yahuah, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has thrown. Yah is my strength and song, and he has become my deliverance. He is my
Oh, it happened again. Are you there? Looks like it happened again, sister. Can't hear you. It's all good. I still don't hear you if you're trying to talk there, sister. And Shabbat Shalom, Sister Kayleen. Good to see you. It's all good. I'll go ahead and read Exodus 15. Yeah, it was good there for a moment, and then it just cut out completely. The enemy don't want the truth out there. That's why. But here, I'll go ahead and read Exodus 15, and this is exactly why the song we opened up with goes exactly with our Torah portion. This is that song. Then Moshe and the children of Israel sang this song to Yahuah and spoke, saying, I sing to Yahuah, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. Yah is my strength and song, and he has become my deliverance. He is my El, and I praise him, Elohim of my father, and I exalt him. Yahuah is a man of battle. Yahuah is his name. He has cast Pharaoh's chariots and his army into the sea, and his chosen officers are drowned in the sea of reeds. The depths cover them. They went down to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Yahuah, has become great in power. Your right hand, O Yahuah, has crushed the enemy. And in the greatest of your excellence, you pulled down those who rose up against you. You sent forth your wrath, and it consumed them like stubble. And with the wind of your nostrils, the waters were heaped up. The floods stood like a wall. The depths became stiff in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I pursue, I overtake, I divide the spoil. My being is satisfied on them. I draw out my sword, and my hand destroys them. You blew with your wind, and the sea covered them. They sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, O Yahuah, among the mighty ones? Who is like you, great in Kodeshah, awesome in praises, working wonders? You stretched out your right hand, the earth swallowed them. In your kindness you led the people who you have redeemed. In your strength you guided them to your Kodesh dwelling. People heard and they trembled. Anguish gripped the inhabitants of Pelishah. Then the chiefs of Edom were troubled, the mighty men of Moab. Trembling grips them. All the inhabitants of Canaan melted. Fear and dread fell on them. By the greatness of your arm, they are as silent as a stone. Until your people pass over, O Yahuah, until the people who you have bought pass over. You bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, in the place, O Yahuah, which you have made for your own dwelling. The Mikdash, O Yahuah, which your hands have prepared. Yahuah reigns forever and ever. For the horses of Pharaoh went with his chariots and his horsemen into the sea. And Yahuah brought back the waters of the sea upon them. And the children of Israel went on dry ground in the midst of the sea. And Miriam the Nebiah, the sister of Aharon, took the timbrel in her hand. And all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And it's interesting, it calls her a prophet, Miriam, a prophet of Yahuah. And Miriam answered them, Sing to Yahuah, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. And Moshe brought Israel from the Sea of Reeds, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days into the wilderness and found no water. And they came to Marah, and they were unable to drink the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. So its name was called Marah. And the people grumbled against Moshe, saying, What are we to drink? Then he cried out to Yahuah, and Yahuah showed him a tree. And when he threw it into the waters were made sweet. And he made a law and a right ruling for them, and there he tried them. So pretty interesting how this tree was thrown in there, and it made these waters sweet, the bitter waters sweet. Verse 2 is your license plate. Oh, that's awesome. I did not even realize that, Bobby. That's awesome. Oh, that's pretty cool there, Ken. Awesome license plate as well. Sorry, just checking up the chat. 25th of the first month, the bitter waters. Yeah, thank you, Sister Natalie. Complaining on Shabbat. The day before first fruits, yeah. All right, 26. And he said, if you diligently obey the voice of Yahuah your Elohim and do what is right in his eyes, and shall listen to his commands, and shall guard all his laws, I shall bring on you none of the diseases I brought on the Mitzrites, for I am Yahuah who heals you. So we see this statement here from Yahuah himself, saying if we do what is right in his eyes, well, what is right in his eyes? Listening to the commandments, guarding the laws. And what happens if we do these things? Yahuah brings healing. So all those who say, oh, all the law is done away with and things like that, don't worry about the law. They cherry pick a lot of Paul's verses out of context to make it seem like Paul is saying the law is abolished. None of that is true. They always confuse the law with only the priestly duties and the offerings. That's what they, think when they think about the law. They don't realize that there's more laws around those priestly duties and offerings. Everything, all the laws concerning those priestly duties and offerings, those are being done by Yahusha in the millennial temple, the heavenly tabernacle, and by the sons of Zadok as well, helping. So all of those priestly duties and laws, no, we don't have to worry about today. But everything surrounding them, everything else around those laws, are absolutely for us to follow still. It has not changed, not been abolished, none of that. The next first fruits is Shabuot. Yeah, it is, actually. Speaking of that, this is the fifth Shabbat of the 50-day Omer count. So two more Shabbats, we will have Shabuot, which is a high Shabbat day, and we'll definitely have a fellowship gathering here for that. All right, sorry about that. Just checking the chat. All right, verse 27, yes. And they came to Elim, where there were 12 fountains of water and 70 palm trees, and they camped there by the waters. So pretty interesting, too, a specific number of palm trees there. All right, chapter 16. So what we see so far is the exodus out of Mitzrayim. Yahuah was telling the people to obey and follow his commands, including the mixed multitude that went out with them. They're all given these same commands. It will go more into detail about that as we go through Exodus as well, saying the same law for the native born and the stranger, the sojourner. 12 tribes, 70 nations. Yep, exactly. So very important and interesting details that pop up too. Hey, and Shabbat Shalom, Tracy and Joe. Good to see you all here.
Good to be seen, brother.
All right, so Exodus chapter 16, and then we're going to read to, let's see, what is it again? Chapter 17, verse 16. Yeah, Yahuah and his sevens. Yeah, exactly. All right, Exodus 16. And they departed from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month, after their going out of the land of Mitzrayim. And this is about that Second Passover time as well. Pretty interesting. And all the congregation of the children of Israel grumbled against Moshe and Aharon in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said to them, if only we had died by the hand of Yahuah in the land of Mizraim, when we sat by the pots of meat, and when we ate bread to satisfaction. For you have brought us out into this wilderness to put all this assembly to death with hunger. So we see the grumbling, complaining, and moaning, them wanting to go back to that bondage of Mizraim, even wanting to die in bondage of Mizraim. Interesting, Natalie. Every time they grumble and complain, it's when they're resting on the Shabbat. Interesting. I'm going to have to save that PDF there. What is a good tab for that? Super interesting. I did not even realize that. Every time they moan and grumble and complain, it's on the Shabbat. Wow. I'm interested. I want to dig into that more now. They would be moaning and groaning and complaining on the Shabbat days. Interesting. This is also why Yahuah was so upset with their moaning and grumbling and complaining, because it was on the Shabbat day. It's supposed to be all about Yahuah, not them, but they were making it about them. Wow. Very interesting. All right, verse 4. And by the way, actually, I'm going to pin that so I don't lose it. Very interesting, though. I'm going to dive deeper into that. Thank you for bringing that up, Sister Natalie. All right, verse 4. And Yahuah said to Moshe, see, I am raining bread from the Shamayim for you, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day in order to try them, whether they walk in my Torah or not. Oh, interesting. Natalie, you've been making graphics for quite some time then, huh? Oh, very interesting. Thanks for sharing that. So we see the manna bread being rained from the Shamayim, and they're to gather a day's portion every single day to see if they're going to walk in his Torah or not. Every day except the seventh day. So, and it shall be on the sixth day that they shall prepare what they bring in. And it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And Moshe and Aharon said to all the children of Israel, at the evening you shall know that Yahuah has brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. And in the morning you shall see the esteem of Yahuah, for he hears your grumblings against Yahuah. And what are we that you grumble against us? I agree, Ken. I would love to hear or see a presentation about that, Sister Natalie. All right, so we have Moshe and Aharon saying, who are we? It's Yahuah that's guiding us. Like, who are we? Why are you grumbling against us? And then Moshe said, in that Yahuah gives you meat to eat in the evening, and in the morning bread to satisfaction. For Yahuah hears your grumblings, which you make against him. And what are we? Your grumblings are not against us, but against Yahuah. Very important thing, for those who are sharing the truth, trying to guide others, and people, hate, moan, groan, complain, mock, scoff. And, we shouldn't take these type of things personally, because it's not us that these people are moaning and cursing and things like that at. It's actually Yahuah.
Are we to conclude from what was just been mentioned here that actually they can moan all week, they can have a grumble all day, they moan about the world, moan about not having food and water, but when it comes to the Sabbath, stop thinking about yourselves, concentrate on me? Is this the sort of thing that's going on?
It appears to be that way because, if, like Natalie said, every time they moan and complain, it's on a Shabbat day. They're thinking about themselves rather than putting Yahuah first. And I think that's exactly what's going on here, brother.
Yeah, because if you're going to read the last chapter in Jubilees, which I believe is chapter 50, it does say something about your own desires, doesn't it? So their own desire is to have these things. It's to put aside your own desires on the Sabbath and focus on Yahuah, which clearly is not what they're doing. So this is probably why it's mentioned, but not why we've picked it up so well as Natalie has.
Yeah, exactly. And we are actually going to read that today in Jubilees. So perfect. It's going to go right with it. And it'll explain exactly what you just did there, brother. I love it. All right. Let's see. So verse 9. And Moshe said to Aharon, say to all the congregation of the children of Israel, come near before Yahuah, for he has heard your grumblings. And it came to be, as Aharon spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked towards the wilderness, and see, the esteem of Yahuah appeared in the cloud. The Son of Man in the cloud. Nothing new under the sun. And Yahuah spoke to Moshe, saying, I have heard the grumblings of the children of Israel. Speak to them, saying, between the evenings you are to eat meat, and in the morning you are to be satisfied with bread. And you shall know that I am Yahuah, your Elohim. So we see kind of a scriptural way to plan your meals for the day. Bread in the mornings, bread and fruits in the mornings, meats, vegetables, things like that in the evenings. That's what I see. But again, I think that's more of a conviction that I have. But we see that standard kind of here being explained. So thankful for your nerdship. Yeah. Oh, because Natalie's a behind-the-scenes nerd. Well, if you do some slides, I'll go over it for you.
We were saying how important it is that daily bread is, something that we partake in the morning, because it will sustain us throughout the day so that we're not hungry for the fleshly desires, of meat. So you have the bread in the morning and you won't desire the fleshly desires as much, right?
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, the bread meaning the word as well. So yeah, I agree with that. If you read your scriptures, even just a verse or two or a chapter every morning, it helps you to, not fall for those fleshly desires and things like that. Very good point, sister. And Shabbat Shalom, Sister Sarah. Good to see you here.
Yeah, Shabbat Shalom to everybody.
I pray you are doing well, sister.
Yep. I've had
Awesome.
a lot of good time in Bible time today, and it dispels the darkness, that's for sure.
Yeah, it really does. Like, actually, what Natalie said right there, busy hands and minds leaves little room for the world.
Yeah. Yep.
Very good point.
Yeah, I woke up with some big concerns and things that were disturbing me, and I thought, well, this is darkness. How do I dispel the darkness? I need to get rid of that darkness right away. So, first thing, I reached for the word, and it really does expel the darkness.
Yeah, absolutely. I do the same. When I wake up, I will say a prayer and then I start reading the word. And once you get into that habit, it's like you look forward to doing that each day. And yeah, it does help you. Oh, go ahead, sister. Go ahead.
It's such a blessing. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, truly it is. Truly. So yeah, it's a good thing to dwell and read his word every morning. That bread. The bread from the Shamayim, his word. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Sister Sophia. Very good point.
John brought it up. I just kind of shared it.
All right, Brother John. Thank you for bringing it up. All right. Let's see. So verse 13. And it came to be that quails came up at evening and covered the camp. And in the morning, the dew lay all around the camp. And the layer of dew went up, and see, on the surface of the wilderness was a small round substance, as fine as frost on the ground. And the children of Israel saw, and they said to each other, What is it? For they did not know what it was. And Moshe said to them, It is the bread which Yahuah has given you to eat. This is the word which Yahuah has commanded. Let every man gather it according to each one's need, an omer for each being, according to the number of beings. Let every man take those who are in his tent. And the children of Israel did so and gathered, some more and some less. And they measured it by omers. And he who gathered much did not have too much. And he who gathered little did not have too little. Each one gathered according to his need. So they got enough for each household. Not too little, not too much. And Moshe said, let no one leave any of it until morning. They did not listen to Moshe, so some of them left part of it until morning. And it bred worms and stank. And Moshe was wroth with them. And they gathered it every morning, each one according to his need. And when the sun became hot, it melted. So we see Moshe being wroth with them because they weren't obeying the command given by Yahuah to not keep any of it until the next morning, except for the Shabbat day. And then we also see when the sun came out, became hot, it all melted away. So there was a specific window of time they had to gather all of this. just enough to feed each person each day. And then it came to be on the 6th day that they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for each one. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moshe. And he said to them, this is what Yahuah has said. Tomorrow is a rest, a Shabbat, Kodesh to Yahuah. That which you bake, bake. And that which you cook, cook. And lay up for yourselves all that is left over to keep it until morning. So I know this is kind of a topic of debate as well, and I'm not trying to debate or anything, but there are many people who will use this to say, like, you can't cook on a Shabbat day. But as we read through it, this is specifically about the manna bread because it was a command not to keep it until the next morning. Otherwise, it grew worms, it stank, all of that. So they went to Moshe after gathering the bread, twice as much bread, saying, what do we do with it? Because we don't want it to rot and stink. And then Yahuah tells them to bake it, cook it tonight. That way you can keep it until tomorrow morning. So when it's cooked, it will last. When it's not, it doesn't. And they laid it up until morning, as Moshe commanded, and it did not stink, and no worm was in it. So after baking the manna bread, they had it until morning for the Shabbat, and it didn't stink. It was still good. And Moshe said, eat it today, for today is the Shabbat to Yahuah. Today you do not find it in the field. Gather it 6 days, but on the 7th day, which is the Shabbat, there is none. And it came to be that some of the people went out on the 7th day to gather, but they found none. And Yahuah said to Moshe, how long shall you refuse to guard my commands and my Torah? So that's the thing too, people, they see the pillar of fire, the cloud, the parting of the Red Sea, all these things they see, and they still refuse to listen to the simple commands that Yahuah gave. It wasn't a burden to not go out and gather this stuff and just to rest on the Shabbat. These people couldn't even do that. And see, because Yahuah has given you the Shabbat, therefore he's given you bread for 2 days on the 6th day. Let each one stay in his place, and do not let anyone go out of his place on the 7th day. So the people rested on the 7th day. And the house of Israel called its name manna. And it was like white coriander seed, and the taste of it was like thin cakes made with honey. And Moshe said, this is the word which Yahuah has commanded. Fill an omer with it, to keep for your generations, so that they see the bread which I fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. And Moshe said to Aharon, take a pot and put an omer of manna in it, and put it down before Yahuah to keep for your generations. As Yahuah commanded Moshe, so Aharon put it down before the witness to keep. And the children of Israel ate manna for 40 years, until they came to an inhabited land. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. So pretty interesting stuff. So we see the manna bread usually does not last until the next day. But Yahuah is commanding Moshe and Aharon to put it in this pot and keep it for the generations. So we see by Yahuah's command, this manna bread is keeping. It's the bread from the Shamayim. So Yahuah can make this bread last for all these generations to see. And it was placed in the ark as well. So I just thought that was pretty interesting. All right. And the children, sorry, I ate that. I just read that. 36. And an omer is 1/10 of an ephah. Special kind of dough for sure. Yeah, it definitely was. Definitely. All right. We're going to read chapter 17 up to verse, sorry, I got to double check, 16. So I'm going to go ahead and just mark it real quick so I know. Oh, well, actually, it's the whole chapter. Yeah. Some people might say it might have been fungi. Interesting thoughts, Ken. I've heard that before. I'm not sure. I don't know if it was exactly fungi because it was more of a doughy. I mean, it could be. Very interesting, though. Yeah, because they did bake it and cook it and things like that. And it was called bread, like manna bread.
One of the things that I really love about it is like it's a lesson that Yahuah provides for us, but in order to have that provision, we still have to do work. They had to go out into the field and gather it. They had to bring it into their homes. They had to bake it. They had to gather double for Shabbat. Like he didn't just give it to them and say, like, here's your bread, go be lazy. Like I think of that like myself, like he's provided us these animals on our homestead, but we have to go out daily and, check on our chickens, make sure that raccoons aren't getting them, make sure that we're gathering the eggs, make sure their coop is clean. Same with the sheep. Like, it's just not free food. It's actually super expensive. But in order to, do something and provide for you, you have to put in the work too. Just like a marriage, his covenantal vows to us. We have to do his commandments, and in turn, he provides us protection and shelter.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. I agree. Yeah, they had to go out, gather it, bake it, cook it, all these things. So putting in that work, it's similar to how, our salvation and protection and healing works as well. Yes, we give it all to Yahuah. He helps us through it, but we also have to do work as well. Like, for example, we can't just, pray to get out of some situation and then not do anything ourselves to try to help us get out of that situation. Like, yes, we pray for help and he will strengthen and guide us to be able to get out of whatever situation it may be. So we have to put in the work as well, just like we see here.
Yeah, you can't say, oh, Yahuah, fix this cancer in my body. Sorry, is that a hot word on YouTube? Um, but you can't say, oh, and I'm going to drive through McDonald's and go pop some ibuprofen and everything's going to be gravy. No, you can't eat like that, and you can't not exercise and move your body and think that you're going to be healed.
Yeah, exactly. I know that's a good example, like some kind of illness or disease and things like that. Like if you're continuing to consume or do the things that are causing it, it's not going to work out very well, no matter how much you pray. Yeah, good point there, sister. All right. So Exodus 17, and then we got Jubilees 48, 49, and 50, which will go right along with everything we've just read as well, and into more detail about it, especially in chapter 50. And then after, let's see, is Marissa here? see Silas, but if Marissa wants to play a song for us after the Torah portion here, that'd be awesome. But let me go ahead. We've only got a few verses here in Exodus 17 to read, so I'll go ahead and read them. And all the congregation of the children of Israel departed on their journey from the wilderness of Sin, according to the command of Yahuah, and camped in Rephidim, and there was no water for the people to drink. Therefore the people strove with Moshe and said, "Give us water to drink." And Moshe said to them, "Why do you strive with me? Why do you try Yahuah?" And the people thirsted there for water, and the people grumbled against Moshe and said, "Why did you bring us out of Mitzrayim? To kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst?" So first they were grumbling about, dying in the wilderness in the desert. Then they were grumbling about being hungry and not having meat and things. Now they're grumbling about water, being thirsty. Then Moshe cried out to Yahuah, saying, "What am I to do with these people? Yet a little, and they shall stone me." And Yahuah said to Moshe, "Pass over before the people, and take with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand your rod, which you struck the river, and go. And see, I am standing before you there on the rock in Horeb. And you shall smite the rock, and water shall come out of it, and the people shall drink." And Moshe did so before the eyes of the elders of Israel. Also, I wanted to add, because I mentioned Ron White earlier, he also discovered the split rock of Horeb there. And you can see where water was coming out of this rock and flowing down into the valley. This very rock. Just another amazing fact, backed up with evidence, physical evidence that we can see. And he also discovered the true location of Mount Sinai, and the top is blackened, like there was fire, because Yahuah ascended on the top of the mountain in fire. I don't think we're not going to get to that part today, but there is a lot of physical evidence that proves, what is written in his word is absolutely fact. Exactly, Kelly. The rock is split perfectly, something nature doesn't do. All right, verse 7, and he called the name of that place Massah and Meribah, because of the strife of the children of Israel, and because they tried Yahuah, saying, "Is Yahuah in our midst or not?" Yep, they tried Yahuah. They saw all these signs and wonders and all these things going on, and they still had the audacity to question, is Yahuah with us or not? And Amalek came and fought with Israel and Rephidim. And Moshe said to Yahushua, "Choose for us men and go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I am stationing myself on top of the hill with the rod of Elohim in my hand." And Yahushua did as Moshe said to him, to fight with Amalek. And Moshe, Aharon, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to be when Moshe held up his hand that Israel prevailed. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moshe's hands were heavy, so they took a stone and put it under him. And he sat on it. And Aharon and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and the other on the other side. And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. And Yahushua defeated Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. And Yahuah said to Moshe, "Write this for for a remembrance in the book, and recite it in the hearing of Yahushua, that I shall completely blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under the Shamayim. And Moshe built an altar and called its name Yahuah Nisi, for he said, because a hand is on the throne of Yahuah. Yahuah is to fight against Amalek from generation to generation. And actually, if you go into the Synagogue of Hasatan tab in our library group, there's a good video in there describing who Amalek is. And I'm sure you won't be surprised with the connection with who they are, the Synagogue of Hasatan, but it's a very interesting video nonetheless. And so now we're going to get into the book of Jubilees. And starting in chapter 48 and continuing in verse 12. So the first part of Jubilees 48 here is about all the plagues and things like that. Verse 12 will continue with, the signs and the wonders and things like that. The Red Sea, all of that. But it goes into it has an interesting aspect because it's being told to Moshe from a messenger angel the reason why all these things happened, like the stuff going on behind the scenes. So Jubilees chapter 48 and verse 12. But despite all signs and wonders, the prince of Mastema was not put to shame, because he strengthened himself and cried to the Mitzrites to pursue after you with all the powers of the Mitzrites, with their chariots, with their horses, and with all the host of the people of Mitzrayim. So the prince of Mastema, that is Hasatan, that's what the book of Jubilees refers to Hasatan as. And I stood between the Mitzrites and Israel, and we delivered Israel out of his hand and out of the hand of his people. And Yahuah brought them through the midst of the sea as if it were dry land. And the reason we see this as a messenger angel, it's because it was this messenger angel that stood between the Mitzrites and Israel. So really fascinating, interesting stuff. And all the people who he brought to pursue after Israel, Yahuah our Elohim threw them into the midst of the sea, into the depths of the abyss beneath the children of Israel. We might need some water. Even as the people of Mitzrayim had thrown their children into the river, he took vengeance on 1,000,000 of them, and 1,000 strong and energetic men were destroyed on the account of one nursing child of the children of your people, which they had thrown into the river. So he's taking vengeance on them because of the firstborns that were thrown into the river by the Egyptians. Excuse me. And on the 14th day, and on the 15th, and on the 16th, and on the 17th, and on the 18th, the prince of Mastema was bound and imprisoned behind the children of Israel, that he might not accuse them. So we see this is not only the Passover evening, but the high festival of unleavened bread up until the Shabbat. And on the 19th, we let them loose that they might help the Mitzrites and pursue the children of Israel. So a fascinating connection here. This is when the same day that Miriam saw Yahusha risen at the tomb. It was the 19th. So specific reasons for these specific dates. And these specific dates, they only fit on the true calendar, the Zadok calendar, Yahuah's Luminary calendar. And he hardened their hearts and made them stubborn, and the plan was devised by Yahuah our Elohim, that he might smite the Mitzrites and cast them into the sea. And on the 14th we bound him, that he might not cause the children of Israel, on the day when they asked the Mitzrites for goods and garments, objects of silver and the objects of gold, and objects of bronze, in order to plunder the Mitzrites and return for the bondage in which they had forced them to serve. And we did not lead out the children of Israel from Mitzrayim empty-handed. So what we're seeing, this messenger angel is the one that helped to guide Mitzrayim. This messenger angel from Yahuah. He's the one that, gave it over to the Mitzrites, the Egyptians, to help Israel with all the precious metals and the flocks and the herds and all of that. So it's pretty fascinating stuff. And then Jubilees 49 here is going to go deeper into Pesach. More specifics about Pesach and what should be done. And then Jubilees 50 is specifically about the Shabbat, the weekly Shabbat. And this is why it's going to correlate with everything we just read as well, and just go into more deeper details about it. So Jubilees 49, starting verse 1. Remember the command which Yahuah commanded you concerning the Pesach, that you should celebrate it in its season, on the 14th of the first month, that you should kill it before it is evening, that they should eat it by night in the evening, from the time of the setting of the sun, the going down of the sun. So, some more specifics we can see here is it will be the 14th. Well, this is not a specific that's not told to us, but we are told this many times. It's the 14th of the first month. But we should kill it before it is evening, so that it can be eaten by night in the evening, when the time of the setting of the sun, the going down of the sun. So a bit more specifics here. For on this night, the beginning of the festival and the beginning of the joy, you were eating the Pesach in Mitzrayim, when all the powers of Mistema have been let loose to slay all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, from the firstborn of Pharaoh to the firstborn of the captive female servants in the mill, and to the cattle. And so we see here, because the Mitzrayims were just going after Satan, it was given in his power to be the one to take all these firstborn, that angel of death, basically. Also, I wanted to add, so we see when the Pesach is slaughtered and things like that, it's on the 14th, in the evening of the 14th. So if you start your days in the evening, this is going to pose a problem. You're not actually going to be eating the Passover lamb on the 14th as commanded. You'll be eating it on the 15th. So this is why the day starting in the evening really just does not work. And verse 3, and this is a sign which Yahuah gave them into every house. Oh, did somebody have something to say?
Yeah, sorry, Jeremy. While we're talking about the Passover, and talking about the time frame and everything, or mentioning the time frame. It's the only I'm trying to say here. There's no butchering involved. It's killed and it's cooked whole, completely whole. There's no taking the innards out or anything like that. It's cooked whole. There's no butchering involved with that particular feast.
Yeah, that is correct as well. It's the command to, roast it with its inner parts and all of that stuff. And then whatever that you and your household do not eat, it's burned. So yeah, no, good point there, brother. Very true.
But you still have to skin it, right? And take out the entrails. We figured that out.
Yeah. I believe it's Leviticus or Deuteronomy. It goes into more specific details. But yeah, skinning the lamb, take out the intestines and the stomach. So inward parts, it doesn't mean like all the inward parts. There are some things that would be kind of, unclean to cook, like the intestines, especially if there's matter in those intestines. You don't want to cook that up. But yeah, those specific inward parts, the kidney, the liver, the heart, things like that. Yeah, exactly, Natalie. Yeah, and then burn it. Yeah, correct. None of the Pesach lamb was to be kept until the next morning. It's actually commanded to eat it in haste as well. With your loins girded, your sandals on your feet. Yeah, I remember we had that discussion about it. Yeah. And remember, the Pesach is not a sacrifice or an offering. It's a meal with Yahuah. Loins girded means being dressed, right? Yeah, exactly. So we see it's not slaughtered and offered up on an altar or anything like that. It's rather a meal that we're supposed to eat. Yeah, we see Yahusha's example, and that's what we follow. Yeah, correct. Because immediately after the Pesach meal, they went out to the Mount of Olives. We don't see any mention of them getting dressed and things like that because they were already done. They were following the commands. Yes, exactly, Sumi. That's why, because when you burn hair and feces, it is not a pleasing aroma at all. All right, let me continue here. So verse 3, and this is the sign which Yahuah gave them. Into every house on the lintels of which they saw the blood of the lamb of the first year, they should not enter into that house to slay, but should pass by, that all those should be saved that were in the house, because of the sign of the blood that was on its lintels. And the powers of Yahuah did all accordingly as Yahuah commanded them. And they passed over all the children of Israel, and the plague did not come upon them to destroy from among them any being, either cattle or man or dog. So it's interesting because I believe it's once we read further on, maybe we'd already read it in Exodus, but it does talk about there were Mitzrayites who also observed this Pesach evening as well. And they did not get destroyed. They became part of those other nations, that mixed multitude that went out with them. And the plague was very grievous in Mitzrayim, and there was no house in Mitzrayim where there was not one dead, and weeping and lamentation. And all Israel were eating the flesh of the Pesach lamb, and drinking the wine, and were praising and barakah, and giving thanks to Yahuah Elohim of their fathers, and were ready to go out from under the yoke of Mitzrayim, and from the evil bondage. So there we see for sure the connection that it was bondage being in Egypt, that bondage being connected to sin, and leaven being connected to sin as well. Dressed and ready for battle. Yeah, exactly. Yes, lintels are the top of the door frame. Exactly. All on Yahuwah's timing, Brother Ken. And remember this day all the days of your life, and observe it from year to year, all the days of your life, once a year, on its day, according to all the law thereof. And do not turn away from day to day, or from month to month. For it is an everlasting law, and engraved on the tablets of the Shamayim, regarding all the children of Israel, that they should observe it every year, on its day, once a year, throughout all their generations. And there is no limit of days, for this is ordained forever. Again, we see, excuse me, it is a Torah command to observe the Kodesh festivals, the appointed times, every year, from year to year, through all their generations. There is no limit of days. So again, that group that goes around saying we shouldn't do these, we shouldn't do that, don't observe the commandments unless you're in Israel, they're breaking Torah and teaching others to do so by stating that, by teaching others to not observe these commanded, appointed times. You know, there are too many with these ear-tickling doctrines, and they are used as an excuse to not follow Torah and obey what Yahuwah has said. They all marched out as soldiers, right? Yeah, during the Exodus, basically, pretty much. It's all good, Sister Sumi. But yeah, we see these commands. There is no limit of days for them. He doesn't say, well, when I send my son, don't worry about any of this anymore. Just, negate all of this. Don't worry about it. All the healing and stuff that's going to come from it. Forget the fact that I said all that. Just don't worry about it. It's all done away with and abolished. All you got to do is, just believe and you're saved. No, we don't see any of that written anywhere. We see there is no limit of days for any of this. Meaning, continually we observe it every single year. No matter where we are. And the man who is free from uncleanness and does not come to observe it on occasion of its day, so as to bring an acceptable offering before Yahuwah, and to eat and to drink before Yahuwah on the day of its festival, that man who is clean and close at hand shall be cut off, because he did not offer the offering of Yahuwah in its appointed time, and his guilt is upon him. So what is the offering? Bringing our presence to these appointed times, showing up. There's a huge discussion in the Pesach tab. Yeah, there. Is tomorrow Sabbath, the first of the third month? No, it's only the 4 seasonal heads of months that are the Shabbats. Yeah, the 4th month. There are some who think it's every month, that it's a Shabbat on the first of the month. I
But
would
that wouldn't
disagree
be
with it.
correctly splitting up the seasons like they're supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes those first of the months will fall on a Shabbat day, I believe. So it just would not work out. So it's only those 4th months. Every 4th month. Those that teach the calendar, that the calendar doesn't matter today, deny Jubilees. Yeah, they do. It matters if the children of Israel didn't keep Pesach, they could have lost their firstborn. Yeah, exactly, Sister Tracy. Yeah, if you hear anybody saying the calendar does not matter, beware. I'm not saying to go hate others because of a specific calendar they're following, but if they're saying the calendar doesn't matter, that's not true. Because it does matter a whole lot. All right. Let's see. Verse 10. Let the children of Israel come over and observe the Pesach on the day of its appointed time, on the 14th day of the first month, between the evenings, from the 3rd part of the day to the 3rd part of the night. For 2 portions of the day are given to the light, and a 3rd part to the evening. So again, this is more proof that the day does not start in the evening. How can you have it on the 14th day with 3 parts of the day observing it to the 3rd part of the night? Nowhere does it say start it on the 14th day and then going into the 15th. No. Bunch of people on Facebook that say Saturday is the Sabbath and will deny any book of the Apocrypha. Oh, I run into those constantly, brother. So you're telling me the day doesn't start at night? Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying it. Scriptures is saying it. But if you also read my book and actually my write-up and article and all of that, I go through all the scriptures proving that a day starts when the sun rises. Oh, okay, I'll read the book. Yah really did raise up children of Abraham from the rocks. Yeah, exactly. That's actually why Yahusha states that to the Pharisees.
Yeah, I was laying there going to sleep last night, or it might have been the night before, and all of a sudden, I get this like image of this whole picture, and that scripture where Yahusha's telling them that, and if you believed Abraham, or if you were children of Abraham, or whatever, I can't remember the scripture, but I was like, man, he really did do that. That's crazy. And then he said it, and they didn't even know it.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And the static that's coming in. Yeah, so I may have to get a new microphone. I think that's what it may be. I've had this thing for quite a few years, actually. So I might have to get a new microphone. Because I've looked into that, why there's static. And yeah, I can't figure it out. It only comes up every once in a while, and I don't move the microphone, nothing. It's on a stand, actually. So yeah, if you do hear that static, just let me know. I'll try to figure it out, try to get it to stop. And think not to say to yourselves, we have Abraham as our father, for I say unto you that Yahuah is able from these stones to raise up children unto Abraham. Matthew 3:9. Yeah, there you go, Sumi. Thank you. All right. This is that which Yahuah commanded you, that you should observe it between the evenings. And it's not permissible to slay it during any period of the light, but during the period bordering on the evening. And let them eat it at the time of the evening until the third part of the night. And whatever is left over of all its flesh from the third part of the night and onwards, let them burn it with fire. So again, we see it must be slain just before the sun is going down, like we just read previously. Then, when it becomes evening, it's ready to eat. And then, because of the different parts of the night, meaning the night watch, it will also go with that. But it's should not be left over from past the third part of the evening. So you basically have all night to eat it, but don't let any of it remain until the morning. And then whatever's left over, you burn it with the fire. So same instructions that we see in Genesis and Leviticus, I believe Deuteronomy as well. All right, and they shall not boil it with water, nor shall they eat it raw, but roasted on the fire. They shall eat it with diligence, its head with its inward parts and its legs. They shall roast with fire, and not break any of its bones. For the children of Israel, no bone shall be crushed. For this reason, Yahuah commanded the children of Israel to observe the Pesach on the day of its fixed time. So it's fixed time, not one that changes each year. And they shall not break its bone, for it is a festival day and a day commanded. And there may be no passing over from day to day and month to month. But on the day of its festival, let it be observed. So another interesting detail here, we see, it's not to be observed every single month. There's a specific time. So who today observes it not only every single month, but every single week? The papacy, the Catholic Church. They're taking this and twisting the command and observing this, what should be the Passover. They're taking it, observing it every single week, not even calling it a Passover. And they only have these bland, dry crackers, not even unleavened bread, and some cheap wine that they make people drink. I remember, because I grew up Catholic, and I remember they would have these lines to, what they call it? They have a certain name for it. I think it starts with a C. But yes, they have a line every single, mass. The people will come line up and take their dried up.
Confession or communion.
Yeah, that's what it is. Communion, yes. They're all sharing and drinking from the same wine glass.
Yeah, and you wonder why they're all sniffling their noses in there.
Yeah,
because everybody's just passing their sickness around. It's so gross.
It really is. And the reason why I brought that up is because I remember, going up there with my aunts and stuff. And in the wine glass, there was like a piece of cracker that someone didn't fully chew, and it like ended up in the wine glass, and people were still drinking out of it. And I remember as a child seeing
Ew,
that.
Jeremy.
Yeah.
Gross.
I'm sorry. I just remember as a child seeing that and being like, "Cool."
Jeremy's like, there's
Pucker up,
floaties
Sonny.
in the blood.
Yeah. I was like, nope, no, thank you. But yes, it's sorry to give that image to everybody, but just an example, like the Catholics, they take this command and they blatantly twist it and disobey it.
Not only
Yeah.
that, the ritual that they actually perform during Mass is actual magic, so that they are turning the bread and wine into body and blood, as to create cannibalism.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they are very sneaky with what they do. It's because they serve Hasatan. Hasatan has had every human being in existence to practice deception on since Adam and Eve. If he was able to make perfect human beings like Adam and Eve fall, who are we to think we're not going to be deceived? My bad, Sister Kayleen. Yeah. But for real, that's what I saw. I remember it as a childhood memory, and I remember it as a reason, another reason that is bad to do.
If you think about it, it's almost kind of like a mockery because they do communion and it is every Sunday that they do it. They always have a really big crucifix with, the depiction of the Son on the cross, and they'd like to keep him up there while also kind of making it a religious rite every single pagan Sunday of what he actually did do with him and his disciples before he was to get crucified. So instead of doing it one time a year, like we're commanded to do, to just remember it on one day out of the year, they do it every single Sunday with the depiction of him just staying up there dead on the cross.
Right, like keeping him crucified instead of like him being risen.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And, I heard it put this way before, if Messiah was killed with like an AK-47, would people wear AK-47s on chains around their necks? Like, why is the weapon glorified? It's it goes pretty deep.
Right. Yeah.
They got to figure out how to honor Tammuz somehow.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, just like Kayleen said, also on Wednesday every week and early morning. They also have their Ash Wednesday where they put their sign of Tammuz on their forehead. Like everything we've been just speaking about. So
Also, when you do the sign of the cross, it's upside down.
Yeah. There's so much hidden symbolism in all of that, and people don't even realize it. And yeah, if anyone came out of that, praise Yahuah. I know I came out of it, although I was young when I was, because my whole family was like Catholic, but my mom stopped taking me and my brothers when I was about like 10 or 11, I think. But yeah, I remember they had that cross everywhere. They had candles and statues, and really just a ritual is what it is.
Well, and I don't even remember where I read it from, and I'll just have to kind of like catch back up on it, but the whole beads, like the beads, with the rosary, I wonder, I don't remember. I think I asked my husband, I was like, how do they explain the way, how is this considered biblical to them? And I can't remember what he said, but you have to say, however, like what I think it's like 5 Hail Marys to every Our Father or something like that. And it's just so weird.
Yeah, yeah. And they actually glorify, quote unquote, Mary and put her as some kind of deity, basically.
The Queen of Heaven.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually remember doing the rosary, praying the rosary as a child, and going along the
Yeah.
beads and things like that. And I don't know where that came from, but yeah, so definitely something of repentance.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember my family had those rosaries and the beads and all of that stuff. When I first started reading scriptures, the few remnants of that we still had, I tossed all of that in the garbage.
I've got an interesting story for you. Earlier we were talking about how the word is light and the light dispels the darkness. Well, my dad, he passed away a few years ago. He was very old, but he grew up in a Catholic home, long-term Catholics on his side of the family, and he went to a Catholic school and was an altar boy and all that stuff. Okay. Well, when he was older and he met my mom was Protestant. He told her he really wanted to get married in the Catholic Church, so she would have to convert, but there was no way she was converting because she knew, I guess she knew stuff. Anyways, but she wanted my dad, so she went and did she pretended to do the conversion and went to the classes and all that. And the priest used to talk to my dad and say, Beth is not doing this right. We just know that she's, not really into it. But my mom, she did her best to fake it, but she never converted. But anyways, after they were married, because of my mom's witness and always reading the word, and that's one thing my mom did, is she always read the word back then. And this was like, 80 years ago or whatever. Most Catholics didn't read the word. They just got their directions from the priest. Well, my mom encouraged my dad to read the word. She knew she was not going to easily convert him, but she just thought, well, I'll just let him read the word. And so she encouraged it. So the more he read the word, the more discrepancies he saw. And then he started going back to his priests and asking them about this and about that, about Jesus, Yahusha, and why we come to the priest to confess our sins rather than the Father, and all kinds of stuff. Well, it would really cause a lot of anger among the priests. They were really perturbed because my dad was reading the Bible. He was reading the scripture, and he came back and he would ask them all these questions until finally, they forbade him to read the word. Finally, they kicked him out of the Catholic Church altogether. And of course, my dad.
That is funny, Sarah.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
My dad gave up all that stuff and converted, and from then on, he was quite a Bible reader and researcher and scholar, and and he died a very righteous man. So, I'm not sure if I was going to say something else about that story. Seems like I forgot the punchline. But anyways, yeah, the more he read the word, the more the light went off inside him. And he just, even though he was raised and steeped in that stuff, the scripture just exposed it all to him. He had no social media and videos to look at or anything. It was just reading the word and the Holy Spirit, the Ruach. So I always remember that and how powerful that was. And even if we don't know the answers yet to a lot of things, the Ruach will show us when the time is right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I remember, shortly before he died, he would be in bed and he'd tell the aides, he'd say, well, let me tell you about the Catholic Church. And I thought, here we go again. He was constantly sharing it. He had he had a gentle way about him. They loved it. But till his dying day, he was trying to expose darkness and lead people into the light. That's what constant study of the Word does for us.
Yeah, I agree. That's why it's very important as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, when he was close to dying, he was 100. Whenever I had wanted answers from Scripture, I knew he had it in his head. I'd just go ask, Dad, where's this and what is that and what does this mean? And he was always pretty sharp about it. But near the end, he would say, I just can't remember anymore. I'd say, Dad, it's still in your head. It's still in your heart. Just recall it. And he would. I'd say that word is still there, even though the flesh is failing and trying to cloud it. That word, he would still come up with the answers. That word is in us, even when we can't recall it. It's still there, and we will be able to recall it when we need it.
Yeah, the word on our hearts, the law on our hearts. That's what it is.
Yep. Do you remember that movie? I think it was called Eli or something like that. It was a blind man who walked the earth after it was
The Book of Eli. The Book of Eli.
Yeah, it was a post-apocalyptic time. And, books had been destroyed, especially scriptures. But he had it. He had it in his heart and in his mind. And didn't he start translating or writing down the word from memory?
Yes, he did.
It kind of reminded me of Ezra.
Yeah.
The movie. But it's been 20 years since I've seen it. I'm going to go back and watch it again. See if there's other meaning in there.
Yeah, they always got that hidden meaning in there.
Yeah, if it's out of Hollywood, there's usually some hidden meaning.
Correct. And yeah, Natalie asked, did you grow up in Torah?
Did I? No. Well, kind of. We didn't call it Torah, and it was not emphasized, but, we were brought up in the whole word. My parents never excluded anything of the Old Testament, like modern Christians do today. It's like, oh, I'm just a New Testament. Nah, wasn't anything like that. We studied the whole thing. And we believed we were supposed to follow commandments. And so, we did. We didn't even eat pork. And we really weren't, Torah, so to speak, Torah people. But we didn't eat pork because it was in the Bible and we didn't question it.
Yeah, there you go.
We didn't know the real names of the Father or the Son. We still did the Sunday church thing, Christmas and Easter. The last 20 years, I started learning. Well, the last 30 or 40 years, I started learning about all that. And I'd go to my parents and talk to them about it. My mom was pretty stubborn about it. My dad, he would listen. And, he was very analytical. He was like, well, let's search this out. Same like with flat Earth. He'd be like, wow, let's search this out. And
no, that's
so
actually pretty
fun
awesome.
talking to him.
Yeah.
It was fun talking to him because he was real open. But yeah, but the last 20 years I have not done Christmas and Easter, and I have not done the Sunday thing. It would bug my mom, but she just didn't know. She was so, we were all so indoctrinated. I mean, everything we've learned in the last few years, they would love. So much has been uncovered and disclosed in the last few years, just like Scripture said it would be. Knowledge would increase and books would be uncovered and the wise would search it out. My dad even used to ask me about, have I figured out the timeline yet or the calendar? And gosh, I had no idea what we know now. I didn't even know there was a discrepancy or dispute about the calendar till a few years ago.
Yeah.
When
Yeah, right.
when I started going to Torah fellowships, and then the feast would come around, there would be 3 or 4 different dates for the feast that different people were observing. I'm like, what's up with this? This is weird. And that's when I started delving into it, which led me to you guys.
Awesome.
But my dad used to ask, have you figured it out yet? Have you figured out the timeline? And I would say, no, Dad, I haven't, but I know there's something to it. But someday I will. I used to pray, God, take me out of Satan's timeline and put me in yours. And I really didn't even understand about the sacred calendar. But of course, those prayers for the last 20 years led me to understanding his sacred calendar. So yeah, I believe Yah is taking us out of Satan's timeline and putting us in his. Look at those of us who are observing Shabbat on Tuesday, the middle of the work week. It's still odd, and I'm still trying to get used to it. I'm very committed to it, but it's like yesterday I had a lot of work to do. I thought, I'll finish up tomorrow, and I thought, I can. It's the Sabbath, and work I really needed to get done, deadlines and things like that. But it's like, nope. We're still getting used to it. Gosh, the indoctrination runs deep, and that has helped me to be more patient with, those still stuck in the delusions about all these subjects that we've been learning. I mean, it's frustrating because sometimes it appears they won't even listen. But, what we tell them may be a seed that we're planting. We may not ever see the fruition of it, but we're planting seeds. So, which has really helped temper me. Instead of being frustrated and snarky to people like I was a few years back, I'm trying to be a lot more patient with people because the indoctrination runs very deep. So all we're trying to do is plant seeds that might just take hold and come to fruition. I'm amazed though at how many of the young people are waking up. Like in the Gen Z group, there is so many of them on social media that are sharing and even preaching, so to speak, that really are getting it. I mean, it's amazing. It gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing all that, Sister Sarah.
Sorry for being so long-winded.
No, it's all good. I just got to finish up Jubilees 49 and 50 here.
Okay.
And then Marissa actually wants to share some songs with us, which I'm pretty excited about. But yeah, no, thank you for sharing, sister. And yeah, patience, I think it's something all of us can get used to working on. All right. Let's see, where was I? All right, verse 15, chapter 49 of Jubilees here. And again, all about the Pesach meal. And you shall command the children of Israel to observe the Pesach throughout their throughout their days, every year, once a year, on the day of its fixed time. And it shall become a memorial, well-pleasing before Yahuah. And no plague shall come upon them to slay or to smite in that year, in which they celebrate the Pesach in its season, in every respect, according to his command. And they shall not eat it outside the mikdash of Yahuah, but before the mikdash of Yahuah. And all the people of the congregation of Israel shall celebrate it in its appointed season. So what's a mikdash of Yahuah now? It's our bodies. Our bodies are the mikdash, the temple. And every man who has come come upon its days shall eat it in the mikdash of Yahuah, your Elohim. Your Elohim before Yahuah, from 20 years old and upward. For so it is written and ordained that they should eat it in the mikdash of Yahuah. And when the children of Israel come into the land which they are to possess, into the land of Canaan, and put up the Mishkan of Yahuah in the midst of the land, in one of their tribes, until the mikdash of Yahuah has been built in the land, then let them come and celebrate the Pesach in the midst of the Mishkan of Yahuah. Let them slaughter it before Yahuah from year to year. And in the days when the house has been built in the name of Yahuah, in the land of their inheritance, they shall go there and slaughter the Pesach in the evening at sundown, at the third part of the day. And they shall offer its blood on the threshold of the altar, and shall place its fat on the fire which is upon the altar. And they shall eat its flesh roasted with fire in the court of the house which has been Kodesh in the name of Yahuah. And they may not celebrate Pesach in their cities or in any place except before the Mishkan of Yahuah, or before his house where his name has dwelt, and they shall not go astray from Yahuah. So a lot of people will try to use these verses to be like, oh, look, see? Like, this is much different, and it contradicts. No. First of all, this is a command for when they go into the land. Second of all, like I said before, the Mishkan, the Mikdash, the temple, tabernacle of Yahuah is our bodies. But then we also get the stipulation, or before his house where his name is dwelt. So where's the house where his name dwells? The temples of our bodies. And you, Moshe, shall command the children of Israel to observe the laws of the Pesach, as it was commanded to you. You declare them every year the festival of Matzah, that they should eat unleavened bread 7 days, and that they should observe its festival, and that they should bring an offering every day during those 7 days of joy before Yahuah on the altar of your Elohim. For you celebrated this festival with haste when you went out from Mitzrayim, until you entered into the wilderness of Shur. For on the shore of the sea you completed it. Again, a lot more details about Pesach and Matzah, more specifics on when it should be done and how it should be done. And then chapter 50, very important. It's only like 17 verses. But it's also going to go along right with what we're going to read today out of the chapter of my book. You know, proving out Enoch and Jubilees and things like that. So Jubilees chapter 50. And this one's pretty big because a lot of people like to use this chapter to attempt to discredit Jubilees, but it actually enforces its validity, proves its validity. So Jubilees chapter 50. And after this law, I made known to you the days of the Shabbatoth, in the wilderness of Sin, which is between Alim and Sinai. And I told you of the Sabbaths of the land on Mount Sinai. And I told you of the Yobel years, the Jubilee years, in the Sabbaths of years. But the year thereof I have not told you until you enter the land which you are to possess. So he's basically talking about, I haven't told you the calendar yet. And the land also shall keep its Sabbathoth while they dwell upon it. And they shall know the Jubilee year, the Yobel year. Therefore I have ordained for you the yearly Sabbaths. So this is specifically talking about the yearly weekly Sabbath here. Why would he point out that there's a yearly Sabbath if we did not have that divider day? So the yearly Sabbaths, the years, and the Yobelim, the Jubilees. There are 49 Yobelim from the days of Adam until this day, and 1 week and 2 years. And there are still 40 years to come for learning the commandments of Yahuah until they pass over into the land of Canaan, crossing the Yarden to the west. So it's interesting, it's the 49th Jubilee when Moshe went up to Mount Sinai. And the Yobelim shall pass by until Yisrael is cleansed from all guilt of whoring and uncleanness, and defilement and sin, and straying, and dwell with confidence in all the land. And there shall no longer be an adversary or any evil one. And the land shall be clean from that time forever. And see the command regarding the Sabbath I have written down for you, and all the right rulings of its laws. 6 days you shall labor, but on the 7th day is the Sabbath of Yahuah, your Elohim. In it you shall do no manner of work, you and your sons, and your male servants, and your female servants, and all your cattle, and the sojourner also who is with you. So a lot of people would like to use this statement, this phrase, this verse that's also found, in Deuteronomy, Leviticus, things like that. So they try to use this statement, 6 days you shall work, but on the 7th day is a rest. They try to make it as some kind of, calendar claim. No, this is a general statement saying on the 7th day Sabbath, you are all to rest. This isn't saying every single year it's just going to be a continual 1 through 7, 1 through 7, 1 through 7, 1 through 7. That's not what this is stating at all. It's just saying, in general, each year, you're to work 6 days and rest on the 7th. So some people try to use that as some kind of like calendar commandment that has to be observed every single year from year to year. Like you can't break the weekly cycle ever. That's not what that's saying. The weekly cycle isn't broken. It's just how the calendar works. And each year, the Sabbaths each year is also what it's specifying in here as well. So any man that does work on it shall die. Whoever profanes that day, whoever lies with his wife, whoever says he shall do whatever on it, that he shall depart on a journey thereon in regard to buying or selling. And whoever draws water thereon, which he has not prepared for himself on the 6th day, and whoever takes up any burden to carry out of his tent or out of his house shall die. So we're going to go into more details about all these specifics when we read the chapter in my book, but a lot of people, like AKA Adam Finkelstein, will say, oh, look, this says you can't lie with your wife. Where's that in the Torah? I don't know. Read Leviticus where it says you're made unclean if you have any kind of omission. Is the Sabbath a day you want to be unclean and outside of the camp on? No. So this goes into, don't do that. Why? Because you're going to be unclean. And then the departing on a journey, but in regard to buying or selling. So this isn't just saying you can't have any kind of journey. And we're going to go a bit deeper into that as well when we read the chapter out of my book. But this is a journey in regards to buying or selling. So depending on what kind of journey you were taking, is it for fellowship? Is it for something that will glorify Yahuah? Things like that. These would be okay to do. But if you're doing it for other reasons, I would say it's not okay. But let me continue. And the taking up any burden, We don't see that in the quote-unquote 5 books that they call Torah of modern times. We do see it in the book of Jeremiah, where Jeremiah says, just as the Torah states, don't carry a burden out of your house. Well, where do we see that? Right here in Jubilees. So Jeremiah is calling Jubilees Torah. And you shall do no work whatever on the Sabbath day, except what you have prepared for yourselves on the 6th day. So you're not going to do any kind of work whatever, except what you have prepared, meaning the wood you have gathered. It's okay to place that on a fire as long as you've gathered it. The animals you've just skinned and prepared, you are able to cook them. Anything, all the things that you've gathered, so you can prepare these things on the Sabbath day, so you're not having to go out and gather them on the Shabbat. So accept what you have prepared on the 6th day, so as to eat and drink and rest and guard the Sabbath from all work on that day. Excuse me. Man, I've been reading too much here. So it's okay, as we read in Jubilees, to eat, to cook on the Shabbat day. And again, that's my conviction. Take it to the Father. It's okay to agree to disagree. But to do no work on that day, and to Barak Yahuah your Elohim, who has given you a day of festival, and a Kodesh day, and a day of the Kodesh rain for all Israel, is this day among their days forever. For great is the honor which Yahuah has given to Israel, that they should eat and drink and be satisfied on this festival day, and rest thereon from all labor, which belongs to the labor of the children of men, except burning frankincense and bringing offerings and slaughterings before Yahuah for days and for Sabbaths. So right here he gives the clause for the Levites to be able to bring in the offerings, the slaughterings, the burning of incense, things like that. This work alone shall be done on the Sabbath days. This work alone shall be done on the Sabbath days in the Mikdash of Yahuah your Elohim, that they may atone for Israel with offering continually from day to day, for a memorial well-pleasing before Yahuah, and that he may receive them always from day to day, accordingly as you have been commanded. And every man who does any work thereon, or goes on a journey, or tills his field, whether in his house or any other place, and whoever lights a fire, or rides on any beast, or travels by the ship on sea, and whoever smites or kills whatever, or slaughters a beast or a bird, whoever catches an animal or bird or fish, or whoever fasts or goes to battle on the Sabbath. So all these very important things. And some will use some of these things, picking and choosing, like, oh, look, it says don't go to battle on the Sabbath. And what was the march around Jericho? Well, it was not a battle on the Sabbath. That's exactly what it was. What about Yahusha was traveling through the field and picking the grain? Well, that wasn't a burdensome travel, a long journey, or anything like that. He was simply walking to go fellowship. There's a plethora of excuses people like to use to try to toss out Jubilees. None of them really work if you have a foundation in Scripture. And all right, verse 13, and we will be finished with Jubilees here. And then we will hear some amazing music by Sister Marissa. And the man who does any of these matters on the Sabbath shall die, so that the children of Israel shall observe the Sabbath according to the commands regarding the Sabbath of the land, as it is written in the tablets, which he gave into my hands, that I should write out for you the laws of the seasons, excuse me, and the seasons according to the division of their days. Thus is completed the account of the division of the days. So this last verse here is the angel of the presence saying, Yahuah wrote these tablets, gave them to this angel. This angel is now repeating them to Moshe so that he will then take these tablets and share it with Israel. And this is all the account of the seasons, the laws of the seasons, the division of the days, and all of this. So, Barak Yahuah, Jubilees is such an amazing read, very important read. We will get into more of the details, how this all lines up, specifically this last chapter here, with some of the Torah, and debunk some of the claims that people attempt to use to try to debunk the Book of Jubilees. And that will be our Torah portion for today. And let me go ahead. I'm going to stop the recording right now and then start it again. And then, Marissa, whenever you are ready, I know we are all down to hear some of that beautiful music. And shalom to you, Sister Wendy. Shabbat shalom. And I pray you have a Baruch rest of your evening there. Thank you for joining.